So I'm going to attempt to make this video in one go, although Jasper is being a little bit needy. There we go. Hi. Okay. Anyways, here we go. Also, this is the most strongly supported, and it's a tough one. So, yeah, I definitely think that this question type, like most strongly supported in particular, rather than even must be true, is the type that I find the most challenging in logical reasoning. And the reason for that is that it seems fairly often that the correct answer isn't very satisfying. And it's more a matter of eliminating the worse answer choices, like finding good reasons to eliminate what you're eliminating, than it is about finding the correct answer and feeling that sense of like, oh yeah, that really fits and that really matches. The other thing that makes this particular question challenging is that even though it's not supposed to be argument-based, and it does say what's most strongly supported by the information, we do actually have a lot of argument structure or like reasoning language in this particular stimulus. So the phrase "for this reason" introduces a conclusion, right? The word "since" introduces evidence, and then it's in this phrase that introduces a statement about what the main evidence is or where the main evidence came from. So that's kind of frustrating as well. So it's not like a bunch of disjointed pieces of information or slightly tied together pieces of information. It does seem like they're actually using some pieces of information to support claims. So it really reads more like an argument. Okay, so I'll go through the stimulus and hopefully Jasper's chirping or crying isn't too distracting. He doesn't fly over here, although I'm pretty sure he will in a second, so I'll probably have to pause. Okay. So wood that is waterlogged or desiccated can be preserved for a significant period, but under normal conditions, wood usually disintegrates within a century or two. Okay, so because of that, archaeologists have been unable to find many remains of early wheeled vehicles to examine. Okay. However, archaeologists have found small ceramic models of wheeled vehicles made at approximately the same time as the early vehicles. Since these models have been much less susceptible to disintegration than the vehicles themselves, the main evidence regarding early wheeled vehicles has come from these models. Okay, can we support A? A says that most of the small ceramic models of early wheeled vehicles were made by the very same individuals. This is not something that we can support, saying that like the actual people who made them way back when, we have no way of knowing that based on the information we're given. B, few if any small models of early wheeled vehicles were made of wood or other materials equally susceptible to disintegration under normal conditions. So we don't know how many, like we have the ceramic models, so we know there are ceramic ones, but we don't know if that represents like the vast majority of the models that existed. But we have found them and apparently can date them to around the same time as the early vehicles. So yeah, to say proportion-wise, how many are ceramic or how many are wood, or like other susceptible materials or other non-durable materials, yeah, that we can't know. C, again, individuals, which is problematic, and say that they're not always aware So the awareness of the individuals who made these vehicles completely beyond the scope of the information that we've been given. I'd say C should probably be the easiest one to eliminate. Like A and C, really out of scope. Okay, then we get down to D and E, which I think might be the ones that you tend to get stuck between here. If you were stuck between two answer choices, maybe B would be in the mix as well. Yeah, so D talks about difficulty of finding preserved artifacts. Okay, so this doesn't really talk about how difficult it is to find preserved artifacts. It's really about, is an artifact likely to be preserved or not? And the ceramics are more likely to be preserved than wood, because wood tends to disintegrate more. And then, the models are less susceptible to disintegration than these wood vehicles, or than the vehicles, whatever they were made of. Okay, so here, though, they're talking about preserved artifacts. The only reason I would say that this one is tempting is because of them talking about the difficulty of finding it, and talking about archaeologists being unable to find it, and the waterlogging going back to the beginning. But yeah, we don't really care about how an artifact was preserved. That's not really the issue. It's like, is it still intact or not? And in this case, they're saying that these ceramic models are intact, whereas the vehicles themselves are not. Hi, chicken. Hi. Yeah. Then we get to E. So E is the correct answer. And it's really just kind of an annoying answer choice because of the sort of double negative that we get. So this phrase here, no more susceptible to disintegration, is tricky. Also here, that it's not preserved. So they're doing that thing where they're really using a lot of negation. Chicken, hi, sweetie. Okay, come in. All right, I'm going to pause 1 moment. So actually, while I'm taking Jasper to his little nest over there, actually try to take some time to figure out another way of wording this that makes more sense to you. So what does it mean if A is no more susceptible to disintegration than B? Okay, just take some time thinking about that. A is no more susceptible to disintegration than B. so let's keep looking at this one. Okay, so for E, what does it mean that one material is no more susceptible to disintegration than another one? So what that means is that it is at least as durable as the others, right? So it's not more, so what does it mean to be susceptible to disintegration, right? That means that it's like not durable, or it's weak in some way, or it's likely to disintegrate faster. It's like open to disintegration. Right? Thinking, okay, well, what does it mean to be susceptible to something? It means to have maybe like a weak point that could be exploited or whatever. So if something's not more susceptible to disintegration, it means it's actually going to be durable, right? It's going to be the same amount of durability at least. So if it were true that the early wheeled vehicles that weren't preserved, that they were just as durable as ceramic items, then we wouldn't be using the ceramic models as the main evidence. We would be using those proper, like full size wheeled vehicles as the evidence instead. That would make more sense. So I think given that we're using these models, it kind of is suggesting that those early wheeled vehicles must have been less susceptible, must have been more susceptible. So rather than no more susceptible, it must have been more susceptible, and they must have been less durable, right? So more susceptible to disintegration would mean less durable. Yeah. So, I mean, the wording is tough there, but hopefully understanding why we would eliminate A through D kind of allows you to see how E is correct. So if you can understand A through D enough to say, well, this isn't supported, then maybe even if you don't quite understand exactly what E is saying, you would go, all right, by process of elimination, I'm going to go with E. But a lot of it is, I think, piecing together what does that phrase mean. And yeah, this question I'd say is quite challenging. I think it's definitely on the harder side. Yeah. So hopefully that helps. Like I said, I do think that this type of question is the one that I find the most challenging on the logical reasoning sections in the LSAT. Yeah, just that thing of like, I don't love that answer. You know, it doesn't feel satisfying. And I think having a lot of kind of not great answers and just trying to find the one that's the best out of a bad bunch of answers is, yeah, that's tough. Yeah, so this one doesn't click that well for me. But maybe that's something to keep in mind when you're dealing with most strongly supported, that the correct answer may not click as well as it does for some of the other question types. But you can do process of elimination typically. And also, if you notice that any particular type of question tends to take you longer than others, that's a note as well, if you're working on pacing and you aren't typically finishing with extra time, if you are under that time pressure, rather than spending several minutes trying to deal with a tough question, you can just go, all right, I'm just going to make my best kind of educated guess, eliminate the worst out of the group, choose one and move on so that I can save that time to get to questions that I really have a good shot of getting correct, as long as I have time to read them and make a good choice. So yeah, that's just kind of a broader strategy. Okay, I hope that helps.